The book is titled Building a Second Brain, a proven method to organize your digital life and unlock your creative potential. What the hell is a second brain, and why does it help you organize your digital life and unlock your creative potential?
Yeah, it's a great question. A second brain, think of things you already do. So you might have a journal. Imagine if everything you wrote in that journal or diary was saved forever, was searchable, that you could actually derive insights from it. You could go ask it a question. What have I thought about money in the past? What have I thought about personal growth? How have my dates been in the past? What did I learn? You could actually mine the insights from that. That's a journal or diary. Now imagine notes you took from books or articles. Now imagine even practical things like grocery lists, packing lists, travel itineraries. Now add bookmarks that you saved from the web. Now add any kind of document that you've created from the past. All these things are things we largely already do to some capacity, but now imagine getting all of that material, which like we said, is just data. All of that stuff is just information, and you save it, you centralize it all in one single central place where you know it will be preserved forever. You know you can always search for things. You know you can, once it's saved in the same place, start to link things together, start to tag it, start to organize it. What would be the value? What would be the value of the aggregated sum of all that material? That's your second brain.
So a cynic would say that, well, what is the value of that? Why do I care if surely, isn't it a bad thing if my private journal is in one place for some evil corporation to access forever? Why do I need to care about my shopping lists? Books I've read a few fiction, I've read Twilight, I've read 50 Shades of Grey, in addition to getting things done. Why does it matter if it's all in one place?
Yeah, I would say a few things. If you make anything, and I'd say more of us are makers or creators than you would think, right? If you're writing long emails, if you're writing reports, memos, analyses, project plans, like most knowledge workers virtually all knowledge workers have some kind of output. You can't just sit down and make something from scratch. Or if you do, it won't be very good. You won't have a lot of kind of interesting ideas to add to it. You need, as a creative person, some repository, some store of ideas and insights to draw from, or else you're going to be doing that classic thing that we want to avoid, which is looking at the blank page or looking at the blank screen, right? And trying to come up with an idea, which is one of the worst experiences. I would say even broader than making things, think about decisions. A decision is something that you, in a sense, create, right? You take into account all this information, all these inputs, what your team thinks, what your colleagues think, how the economy is doing, what people in your industry say. You are incorporating all of those inputs into a decision. I would say that is something that you need to draw on existing material. Any kind of outcome, right? Like it's difficult to go out into the world sort of naked in idea terms and make things happen without any research, without any creative raw material, without any planning. Yeah. It's just hard to do.
Okay. Yes. So the way that I kind of, when people ask me, oh, what's the deal with the second brain thing? I'm like, it's basically a digital note-taking system that you can put anything into and that you can then use for the things that you actually care about. Yeah. So I think this is very easy to give an example to if you're, for example, a writer. There's this idea of a commonplace book, which is a thing from back in the day, where anytime you read a book or you have an insight or you have an idea, you write it down in this one book. And now, if you have multiple of these books that you've collected through 10 years of your life, and you come to writing a book, you're like, cool, I now have all of these insights I've already gathered, I've already got the raw materials. It's almost like taking notes in class. Yeah. If you're then writing an essay, you're mining the notes you've taken in class, doing a little bit of Googling, but mostly doing it from stuff you've read in class, wider reading, other insights, maybe a little note that sparked when you were in a lecture. And then you're assembling your essay based on those raw materials, rather than assembling your essay from the blank page, or attempting to assemble your essay via a Google search, where you're just going to be derailed by SEO content marketers who are writing the most boring ass listicles to help drive content for their things.
Exactly.
So in a way, you're creating your own Google, your own sort of external brain, your second brain that you can then search for relevant things. Yeah. And I guess that's easy enough to think about. Like let's say if you're a student and you're writing essays, easy enough if you're like a YouTuber, you're like, cool, I get to mine this for content ideas. What about like not obvious things like that? Or what other use cases are there for a second brain outside the scope of I'm a quote content creator / student?
There's all these little mundane things just from people's everyday lives. Like I'll give one very simple example. I'm driving by the hardware store. As a parent, it's like I have to make use of every single minute. If I'm driving by the hardware store, I want to take advantage of that opportunity. Opportunistically know, is there anything that I could just pop in, pull in right here, pick it up from the hardware store, which is across town, right? Rather than trying to, from my home, set aside all this time to go to the hardware store.
Yeah.
So here's the question. How can I, within seconds, look at some resource, some place, and know all the things that I might want to pick up at the hardware store? And I did that. I actually have this as a case, as a micro case study in the book. I went into my notes, went into the project folder for the studio that we were building, went into OneNote that had things to pick up at the hardware store, right? Which I could have also done a search for. And then right there in the note, I kind of reorganize it, put some things at the top, put some things in a section that says, don't worry about it for now. And that way it's like I can take advantage of a spontaneous opportunity in my day, which is driving by this hardware store to also pick up those items which I would never be able to remember. Right. And it would also be hard to sit there in the parking lot and try to like make a new list and try to remember all the things that we were talking about 2 weeks ago that I have to pick up.
Okay. So it's like your second brain is offloading functionality from your own brain to be forced to remember things like 3 weeks from now when I happen to be swinging by the supermarket, what are the things that I need to grab?
Yeah.
And so it's not just like notes that you're taking from lectures, as it were, or videos that you watch or books that you read. It's also to-do lists for projects that you're working on. Let's say you're remodeling your studio. Let's say you're, I don't know, getting something installed in your kitchen. Let's say you're trying to make your bedroom look a little bit nicer.
Yeah.
Those are all, I guess, projects
Yes.
in our life.
Yes.
And unless you're used to thinking like a productivity nerd, you might not think of them as projects. Like,
Yes.
install bookshelf in bedroom, or sort out cable management on desk setup. Like, what do I need for that? Well, I need some cable ties. I need one of those like plastic boxes to put shit into.
Yeah.
I need some kind of cleaning implement for my keyboard because my keyboard's a freaking mess. I'm not going to bother getting those things right now. So let's just chuck them in a to-do list such that next time I happen to swing by the hardware store, I can just pick up those things and it becomes a sort of seamless part of my life. Is that kind of the idea?
Yeah, I think people sometimes, they think, oh, second brain, this is this advanced futuristic technology. It's going to be this like, exoskeleton that's going to give me new powers and new capabilities. Sure, maybe eventually. But instead, think about, instead of the top of your skill hierarchy, the bottom. What is the stuff that you're trying to memorize? What is the stuff that you're trying to keep in mind? Right? These little things. Are you trying to keep in mind, the homework assignments your kid has to complete this week that you're helping them with? Are you trying to keep in mind, places you want to visit next time you're in this country? Are you trying to keep in mind the ideas from the meeting with your boss last week? Are you trying to keep in mind ideas that have come up in a marketing meeting? You probably don't even realize it, right? Because we were never taught, oh, that thing you're trying to keep in mind, don't keep that in mind. In fact, we're usually taught, keep this in mind, remember this. Like, you can even notice the things people say in these little conversational moments. They're like, oh, can you remind me of this, or keep this in mind, or bring this up next time? I'm always like, no, I can't. I'm a fickle, fragile human being. I have to write it down. So what happens if you replace instead of adding new levels of thinking, replace the bottom levels, which then frees up your time, frees up your attention, frees up your energy, which you can then dedicate to those higher levels.
Yeah. The way I think of it is like, it's like my brain is a dumbass, and I don't trust my brain to remember anything at all. And so if it's important, I need to write it down somewhere.
Yeah.
And then I need to remember where I've written it down.
Yeah.
And so the more second nature that becomes, and the more I know that all of my things go in this folder, all my things go in this app, all my things go in this particular notebook, the more likely I am to remember the things that actually matter to me.
Exactly.
And I started applying this in the realm of people as well. So I have like a people folder in my Apple Notes where anytime I have a conversation with someone, and if I remember to do it, I'll just quickly be like, had a chat with Danny on the 16th of April 2022. We talked about X. He's thinking of moving to America. He'll be in America for a month, coming back on the 14th of May. Cool, that's fine. Sounds a bit banal, but next time I speak to Danny, which might be 2 months later, I look at that note like, oh yeah, he was in America for a week, or for a month. How was your trip to America, Danny? And then it's like, oh, you remembered. And it's like, we're totally cool with writing down people's birthdays as like, I'm not going to remember someone's birthday, but I know it's important that I remember their birthday so I can send them something, and therefore I'm going to write it down. Yeah. But there are also so many things about like, people that we know that we want to remember
Yeah.
that we just don't trust our brain to.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know how old your kid is. I don't know how old Francesco's kid is. I know that you guys have kids and maybe sort of have another kid on the way. I have dozens of friends who are in the process of getting married in the various stages of pregnancy. It's like, how do you keep track of all that? It's important for those individual relationships.
Yeah.
But no one would be like, if for example, you had a little address book and you kind of wrote down details.
Yeah.
Oh, there's something cute about it.
Yeah.
If you put it in an app, suddenly it's like, oh my God, you're being too systematic with your relationships. What is wrong with you? You're a robot, etc.
Yeah, it's so funny. I have a Christmas notebook, Christmas presents notebook. Every time I come across an item that I think could make a good gift, I just take a clip, take a link, take a note, and put it in there.
What a great idea.
And then at the end of the year, I just do a matching. I just get a list of everyone I need presents for, open up that notebook. It's things I haven't even looked at, all year long. And then I just go, okay, this one for this person, this one for this person. As a result, everyone thinks I'm like this incredibly thoughtful gift giver. I'm the worst gift giver.
Yeah.
I can't remember anything. I can't remember anniversaries, birthdays, nothing. But I've essentially offloaded the part of my brain that would be constantly thinking or stressing out at the end of the year. Oh shoot, how do I buy all these gifts? And I'm just giving that job to my second brain.
Hey friends, thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this clip, then click here for the full unedited episode. And if you like that, then do please consider subscribing to the channel. It means a lot. Thank you so much and have a great day. Bye-bye.